paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is very important skills that you will need in your academic life. So let's learn what does it mean. When we describe something we have heard, we often repeat the same idea but use different words. For example, if you hear the TV announcer say, "There is an 80% chance of rain tomorrow," you may tell a friend, "It will probably rain tomorrow." This last sentence is a paraphrase. So a paraphrase is a restatement of another person's ideas using our own words. There are two criteria for good paraphrase. The first one, a good paraphrase has the same meaning as the original. So that means all the main ideas are included. Also, there is no new ideas added to the paraphrase. The second criteria is a good paraphrase is different enough from the original to be considered your own writing. This means that you use no more than 4 or 5 words in a row from the original source. Also, it means changes grammar and vocabulary as much as possible. Let's take an example here. Genuine multitasking too has been exposed as a myth, not just by laboratory studies, but by the similar or by the familiar side of an SUV, undulating between lanes as the driver cuts deals on his cell phone. So this is the first paraphrase of the first sentence. People cannot really do more than one thing at a time. We can see this from scientific research projects and also from just watching a car moving unpredictably down the highway while the driver is talking on a cell phone. If we take a look here, the two criteria for good paraphrase is included. If we take a look at the second paraphrase here, it matches the two criteria that we talked about at the top. Let's take an exercise here. Does this paraphrase meet all the two criteria? What do you think of this sentence? Does it meet all of the two criteria? No, it doesn't, because if you take a look at the two criteria for good paraphrase, these two are not applied here in this sentence. Let's take a look at the two techniques for good paraphrasing. The first technique is telling a friend method. So for example here, as we talked about this example before, if you hear the TV announcer say, "There is an 80% chance of rain tomorrow," you may tell your friend, "It will probably rain tomorrow." This is the meaning of telling a friend method. The second method is chunking method. This means grouping words that express an idea. Let's talk about them in detail. The first technique is telling a friend method. So this means that you have to read the original and concentrate on what it means. The second thing, you cover the original so that you cannot see it. The third one, you imagine you are talking to your friend. How would you explain this idea to your friend? Write down your explanation. Last thing, you go back and read the original again to see if it means the same as your paraphrase. Let's take an example. Leadership by birth order apparently holds for both genders. Studies have found that female executives are much more likely to be firstborn than laterborns. So if we try to paraphrase this sentence by telling a friend method, here we go. Not only firstborn men, but also firstborn women are more likely to be executives than people who are later born. So notice here the key ideas from the original is included in the paraphrase, but the structure is very different here. Let's talk about the second technique, which is the chunking method. This means that you read the original passage several times to develop a basic understanding of the ideas. Then you divide the passage into chunks by underlining the main ideas. Then you explain each chunk using your own words. Last thing, you combine these explanations into one or more sentences to create a paraphrase. Let's take an example here. It is estimated that hunger and malnutrition could be eliminated globally for less than is spent on pet food in Europe and the US. Universal literacy could be achieved for 1/3 of what is spent annually on perfumes. Now let's try to explain it in chunks. The first chunk, we will try to paraphrase it or explain it. Problems of famine could be solved worldwide. Let's go to the second chunk. For less money than it costs people to feed their pets in the US and Europe. The third chunk, everyone could learn to read and write. The fourth one, for about 33% of the amount that people spend on perfume every year. So, if we combine these explanations into one sentence, we're gonna come up with this good paraphrase. Problems of famine could be solved worldwide for less money than it costs people to feed their pets in the US and Europe. And everyone could learn to read and write for about 33% of the amount that people spend on perfume every year. Let's take an example here, and I want you to answer the question, is this a good paraphrase? If this is a good and okay one, just say this is a good and okay. But if it's not, tell us why. This is the sentence. The United States leads the world in its belief in romantic love. 86% of American college students say they wouldn't marry without love. This is the first paraphrase. This is the second paraphrase. Please pause the video and answer which one is better than the other. Well, the second paraphrase here is better than the first one because it matches the criteria that we talked about. The problem with the first one is that it is very close to the original wording and sentence structure. Okay, thank you for watching and good luck on your paraphrase.